Mike, let's start out by talking about Gus Malzahn. The first thing I thought of when I heard this guy was talking about Alabama and Iron Bowl. I'm like, you must be tripping. Like, are you crazy? Because hang 60 on him. You lost the game.
Yeah, they did, and it was a shootout though. They could have. I mean, wouldn't have been out of the outrageous to think that they could have at a certain point. They were hitting those big deep passes, the 65-yard passes, one after another. It wouldn't have been outrageous to think that at halftime. So, it didn't end up that way, 55-44. But it's just the rivalry. Had a little bit more spice to it here in August.
So, Michael Casagrande with us, Alabama Media Group, AL.com, great sports writer down in Bama. But doesn't it bother you? Like, it does me, that I would think that would be fodder for the locker room and for the boys to be like, put this up like on the wall, say like, are you kidding me? This guy's talking trash. We beat him in the game, and this guy's still talking. He reminds me of that chick from Brazil after Ronda Rousey beat her ass, and a week later she's still talking about how she's going to beat her like next year, and she joins the Smoke Club, Shut Up Club. And I think Gus Malzahn should join the Shut Up Club. If you lose the game, you're not allowed to talk about how you should have hung 60 on somebody. If I were Alabama, I'd be eating that stuff for breakfast.
I mean, as a writer, I hope he never shuts up. I don't want anyone to shut up. I like the people to say it how they feel, and it's a very intense rivalry. The fans are really going at it. The coaches, don't really take too many shots at each other. It's not like Ohio State and Michigan. It's not that kind of mudslinging thing, and among the coaches and players. So it was almost a breath of fresh air to hear someone, be honest with what they thought. Keep talking. I like when people talk. It keeps us in business.
I like the way you think, Mike. Michael Casagrande on the bench on CBS Sports Radio. I'm on all over Alabama, and I respect both programs. I really do. I think Auburn's good, but explain to me why they're preseason ranked higher than Alabama. That should be, in my world, where I come from, that should be like one of the, is it like 7 deadly sins? Isn't that not allowed that Auburn's actually ranked higher than Alabama ever in basically football ever?
Well, yeah, I guess there are probably a lot of people in the state who would agree with you. I think maybe the reason would be there's a little bit more stability there at quarterback for Auburn. Alabama's still trying to figure out who's going to be their quarterback. That's a huge, the biggest part of that puzzle, and they're still trying to figure it out. The guy who would be penciled in as the number one hurt his foot this week and is not practicing right now, so there's some questions with that. So if you don't know who's going to be kind of leading that offense, it's hard to have 100% confidence. It's kind of back and forth. Who you ask who's ranked higher, they kind of go back and forth depending on the ranking, the polls, whatever. But I think the stability at a quarterback is a big thing to do with that. And they think the defense will be a lot better at Auburn this year. It was pretty bad last year. Bringing in Muschamp, I think that's added a lot of confidence that they'll be able to turn that around defensively.
Mike, they gave him more money than most coaches in America make to be a coordinator. What a coup that guy is. I got to tell you, I respect him as a coach. As a coordinator, I thought he was fantastic. As a head coach, he was swimming in real deep water, and it just didn't work. How in God's name did he get that kind of money?
Well, I think it's kind of the model. There were a lot of these guys, you look at Lane Kiffin, he came to Alabama. He's not getting that kind of money because he's still getting buyout money from USC. But some coaches might be better off as coordinators when they can just focus on being, focus on one side of the ball instead of trying to be the CEO. Where I think that's kind of where Kiffin got caught up, and where I think Muschamp may have too. Where they can just focus on football, and there's a great value to that. I mean, Kirby Smart is making $1.3 million a year to be Alabama's defensive coordinator. He hadn't even been a head coach. It's an important role, and to keep them to possibly from going to a bigger head coaching job, a smaller head coaching job won't pay them nearly as much as they would get paid to be the coordinator at Alabama or Auburn. So there's value in it, and they see that they need to keep those kind of guys.
Michael Casagrande with us on a bench from the Alabama Media Group talking about the Tide and everything else in Alabama football-wise on the college side. We're stoked. It's like 16 days away. I don't even talk to my family anymore at this point. So Kiffin, speaking of him, was there a point last year where it was tense with him and Saban at all? Or, that he's like, listen, this is your new job now. You work for me. Or was there smooth sailing? And are you surprised at all that, A, he didn't get another job offer to go somewhere else as a head coach, and that he's there again for a second year?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover there. I think, first of all, I was surprised when he was hired. I would be the first one to say that I wasn't sure how this was going to work. Him being kind of a big kind of personality, somewhat of an ego, to come and work for Nick Saban, who's obviously not going to take second seat to anybody. But I think it went pretty well, better than a lot of people probably expected in year one. There was some sideline tension between the two at times, but I think that was just nothing outside of the normal debate between play calling and philosophy. I don't think that anything ever was a real issue between the two. Whether or not he had job offers to go other places, there were talk out there. There were possibility the 49ers was a possibility as a coordinator, but no real talk about head coaching. I think maybe it takes at least a year or two before any of those offers start rolling around. He needs to prove himself a little bit more, but I think he's doing a very good job as a coordinator. And sometimes there's the allure, there's the money to be a head coach again, but he seemed to really enjoy being a coordinator again and just having to focus just on the offense and not have to deal with media and not have to deal with all the other things that come around with public speaking, all the other things that come along. He was just X's and O's, and he did a very good job with it, I think.
Mike Casagrande with us from Alabama Media Group on CBS Sports Radio talking about the Tide. So Saban, he had this book that he was upset about that came out a couple weeks ago. I'll be honest with you. I was going to have that guy on the show. He ended up on another show, and I was like, I didn't really want to talk to him then at that point. And then like a day later, Saban was shredding this guy's book, and I'm like, Jesus, I'm glad I didn't put him on the air. Don't tell anybody. But did you read the book, and did you think it was a fair shake on Saban? I mean, I'm sure it was like a hot potato going around that campus, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it was something that was, first off, it was a very good book. I talked to the author back in, a couple months ago when he was writing it. We were talking about some of the things he was kind of bouncing some things off me. So I knew he was doing a lot of research on it. Did a very good job with it. I thought it was a very complete story of his life. I'd recommend it to people. I mean, I don't know the writer Monty Burke before I met him a few weeks ago, but I thought he was, did a very good job. I thought it was a fair job. Saban himself said he wasn't going to read the book, so any of the criticism that he has is based on secondhand knowledge, I suppose. But I didn't think there was anything. I mean, there were a few things I guess you could dispute, but I don't think at the end of the day when you read that book, you don't see it as a slam piece, and it wasn't meant to be a hatchet job on him. I thought it was a pretty, even look at his life, and I like to have a book that's not necessarily an autobiography because you get a little bit more the unfiltered story behind someone's life and not necessarily run through the person himself. So I thought it was a pretty good book, and I don't think at the end of the day, if Saban sits down and reads it, he'll be too upset over the net of the book. Maybe a few parts you could dispute, but I don't think none of it read like it was outrageous lies that I wouldn't believe would be somewhere in the truth.
I wouldn't even believe that he didn't read it. I bet he was reading it in bed, and his wife was snoring next to him, and he had the old bifocals out late at night with a little lamp on, maybe a flashlight. He was actually reading chunks of it and just won't admit it to anyone. Do you ever, Michael Casagrande with us on the bench from Alabama Media Group, he covers the Tide. He does everything down there. He writes columns. He's on TV. He's all over the place. And now he's on the bench waxing up. Do you, when you cover this guy, do you ever feel like you're covering like Bear Bryant, because he's become so gigantic, whether people like him or not is irrelevant. He's a great coach. He's the best in the business, in my opinion. Like what he's accomplished is insane. I give Urban Meyer all the props in the world, but I mean, Ohio State kicked your ass, so what? I still think Saban's one for the ages. What's it like for you to cover him on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I remember I started covering the team in 2009, the first year they won the championship. And, at some point during that span, you started realizing, this is something, a special time. It's something that, 20 years down the road, people are going to look back on this in somewhat the same vein as the Bear Bryant years. But, I'm not from Alabama. I don't have that natives experience and everything, but it feels like it's a special time. And just the way the Alabama-Auburn rivalry has gone back and forth with the Cam Newton game, then that kick six game 2 years ago, it is a time that's going to be remembered for just what it was. But covering him every day, I mean, it's interesting. There are definitely those moments where he'll chew me out. He's chewed out every beat writer. It's just kind of part of the experience. it's nothing anyone takes personally, but it's it's been an enjoyable time. I wouldn't trade it for anything, to be honest. You want to cover college football at its highest level. That's what I wanted to do when I got out of school, and this is exactly what I've been able to do. So it's been a pretty cool experience.
So, Michael Casagrande telling it like it is on the bench about the Tide. Tell me, I saw your piece on Jacob Coker. What's that all about? It's nothing major, his little tweak, right? And then tell me about their quarterbacks. They got so many of them. What can we expect this year from the QBs at Alabama? Are they going to be good enough to get the job done, or are they going to have problems?
Yeah, that's really the question of the offseason. I mean, with Coker, first of all, I think it seemed like a minor thing. He was out there today working with the trainer, moving around a little bit. He wasn't running at full speed, but he was also, in full jersey, full uniform, shoulder pads, just trying to test things out. It'll be curious to see how long he's not practicing at full speed, because it's a huge week. The week between two scrimmages is huge for them. But overall, the quarterback, it's really it's a crapshoot. I mean, there were times where you said you wouldn't expect to see one guy, didn't see him starting a game, and now he's leading the lines in practice today. Alex Morris was doing a lot today. So it's as wide open. I've covered, 3 or 4 of these quarterback battles here, and this one's as wide open as it gets. There really hasn't been anyone take the charge. Saban said a couple times, take the bull by the horns, and no one's done that yet. And it's kind of, time's ticking down to that first game. And, there's a lot of momentum, and a lot of fans want to see the true freshman Blake Barnett, and I think it's just going to be tough for anybody as a true freshman to go out there the first game of the year in Dallas Cowboy Stadium against Wisconsin, 8 o'clock at night on ABC. I think that's a tough thing. So, there are a lot of storylines. And I don't think anyone really has a full clue as to what's going on just yet. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Hey, let me ask you one last question, Mike. Michael Casagrande, you got to check him out at AL.com. That's short for Alabama. And check out the sports page. You can see all of Mike's columns. Wisconsin in the opener here on the 5th, and then 2 weeks later, my God, against Ole Miss. I like that they got the satchel to play some heavies early, and let's just get it on, that they're not afraid of anybody.
It's going to be this schedule's brutal this year. They go 2 weeks after the Ole Miss game. They're going to Georgia, which is heavyweight battle. They hadn't played there since 2008 when they beat them pretty badly, kind of an upset game. But yeah, they're the November stacks. They're going to Auburn final week of the year. So it's going to be a wild ride. That's why their predictions as many as 2-3 losses possibility, which is unheard of. In this whole span, the whole time I've been here, they've lost 3 games once. So it could be an interesting year. It could go any number of ways. It's same thing last year, and they ended up number 1 at the end of the regular season. So you never know.
Wow. And then they got the game at College Station, and then they got they're at Mississippi State in Starkville, and then at Auburn. It's just unbelievable. You're right. The schedule's brutal. Michael, we'll check you out during the season and see how the Roll Tide do. We love them on CBS, obviously, on those SEC Saturday games, and we're going to be talking about them on the bench. Thanks so much for coming on CBS Sports Radio tonight and catching us up with the Crimson Tide down there in Tuscaloosa.
Great, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Michael Casagrande, he always wanted to come on my old show and cuss at people, and he never got that chance. So now he's doing it clean style, like he's going to church, like he's at the Vatican, on the bench, on CBS Sports Radio. Sports Radio.